Okay. And we'll fix the... as always. So, today's champion profile is about Fernando. And one of the things about Fernando is... he's the best starter type frontline. Now, I don't know about when anybody came in the game, but when I came in the game, these were the champions that were free and unlocked, and you had to purchase everybody else with either crystals or gold. So you had Fernando for frontline, you had Skye for flank, you had Pip for support, and then for damage you had Victor, and Strix, and Tyra, and Kanessa, and Cassie, and Drogos. There were and that wasn't rotation, that was including on rotation, because on rotation for healer, I came in, Genesis was on rotation, Willow was on rotation, and I believe Maeve was on rotation. But I never played a rotation character because I didn't want to get attached to a character that I couldn't afford to unlock. So at the time, I just stuck with your starter type characters until I unlocked people. But Fernando was my first tank. And of those starter type champions, we're not including the damages because there's 6 damages and there was a whole ton of them. But between Skye, Pip, and Nendo, Nendo is the most effective. Nendo is the most valuable. And what's funny to me is Skye is a mid-tier flank, Pip is a lower-tier healer, but Fernando, in my opinion, is a top-tier tank. He's fighting for that 2 or 3 spot. For the 3 or 4 spot, sorry. Are you kidding me, little dog? I'm sorry, my little dog is being a nut job. So this is the other thing. In my opinion, he only has 2 good cards. So he works with all of this on 2 good cards. Now, there are a lot of people that run Formidable. I do respect that card, but I personally don't like playing around that as much. I don't really notice the benefit of it. I get burned down too much on Formidable. I would rather run Aegis than Formidable. On Dragon's Fire Lance, again, a lot of people run it. I kind of respect him. It just doesn't do as much damage, in my opinion, as a good Scorch player can. So he has 2 cards that are really outmatched. And where I say, well, Formidable doesn't heal. Last Stand with Aegis is critical. Although the Aegis card is just null and void if you have a Dredge on your team. Let's be clear. Khan, Terminus, and Dredge are pretty much the 3 counters to that card. And Willow. I love Aegis. It's your best build for actual tank. If you want to be a tank, that is what you run. But Scorch is a card that I see a lot of people running. Let's start with Formidable. Just to show that off. It doesn't even matter. I just want to show off what Formidable does. So...
First blood!
See, that's what Formidable does. It really only kicks in if you're actively taking damage. That's the thing. If you're actively taking damage, I do not notice that regeneration at all. That's why I can't stand that card. And then, just to show off Dragonfire Lance, and what that does, we'll go over to the Skye shooting range right here. Show this off. Really? See, I can never get Dragonfire Lance to work right. That's my problem. I'm not answering that fucking phone. I'm not doing it. Shut up. Every goddamn time. I'm not gonna put it on mute. That's the problem, is I don't get that Dragonfire Lance to have that pop-out effect on me. That's why I cannot run that card. Watch. I'm on it. It still just hits for the 450. I don't know if that's a glitch or what. I've never been able to run Dragonfire Lance. So I run Scorch and Aegis. So let's start with Aegis, because Aegis is the most simple. So, there's only one Aegis build that I actually have, a dedicated build. So this is increase the health. This gives you a 10,000 health shield, and it bumps your health up to, I think, 5,600. You have a good amount of CC on there. You've got 50% reduced CC, basically. You've got Last Stand. That should be a filler on every single build. Now, mind you, when you see all of the Nendo builds, know that I tweak all of my builds on Fernando so much. He's the one character that I tweak more than any other character. If you want to take a point off an immovable object on a tower barrier, be my guest. I like Unstoppable Force. I like that as a filler. I like that knockback effect on charge. And then Last Stand, obviously. And so this is what you'll see on charge, because it gives you that slight displacement option. The big advantage is that you get to hold your shield up. And I used to run the card where you move faster when you have your shield, but I took that out for the crowd control instead. But this is the big thing. You can walk around, you can shield, use this to push forward. And that becomes a very effective strategy for how a good tank Fernando is. Because now you've given the opponent something to work through. They have 15,000 health that they have to chew through between your shield and between this. And it's very effective because you can push the fight with the shield. You can bring this up and start the opponent. Take it down. Another trick I'm going to show off, by the way, this is a Fernando trick that you should know, is that you never want to let your shield get destroyed if you don't have to. And what do I mean by that? My shield's about to get destroyed. 1, 2... Fire off a fireball. You always want to cancel your shield with a fireball if you can. Unless you're in a situation where you have no health and you're just trying to put that shield up to defend yourself. And they've got so much wrecker that they're burning through it. Or it's a dredge with hurl. Or it's a willow. By the way, dredge has not come out. They're pushing the patch off tomorrow. I'm not happy about that. The dead zone willow card, or you know, if Khan is about to commanders grab you, canceling you a fireball is your best bet. The other build that you can run on Aegis, I call this Prius. This is a flex build. So this has the reduced crowd control. The only difference in this is instead of increasing the health of the shield, I have reduced cooldown on Fireball. That drops it down to, I believe, that's a 4-second cooldown on your Fireball. This lets me play both Scorch and Aegis if I want to. That's why this is called Prius. And this is mostly just around the crowd control, where this is what I call an economy build. I don't have to buy resilience in-game. I have it right here. I can focus on Haven or Blast Shields to help out. Now we'll talk about Scorch, and I think Scorch is really the important one here. By the way, this is a flank Nendo build. This is another one that you can run with Aegis, or you can run with Scorch. That's the great thing about him. I have one build that's Scorch only, one build that's Aegis only, and 2 flex builds. This is flank Nendo, so this is about mobility. This is increased range on your charge. This is an increased knockback. This is the same filler card on Last Stand. And then I actually have looks that kill, because I like looks that kill. This is why. So you hit, so let's say we're firing. Pepper with a fireball recharges ammo enough for you to hit. This, by the way, is what the charge does. So basically it lets you close distance really, really quickly. And then the last build is going to be Explosive Diarrhea. Now this is a fireball build right here. So I have a little bit of, because you have to realize, when you are playing Scorch, you are not a tank. You are an aggressive motherfucker. You're Khan. Like, you don't know how many times I pick Aegis, and I sit here and go, damn, I wish I had picked Scorch, because there are so many times my team does not do the DPS that I need, and Scorch lets you do that. Scorch on point is beast. The problem is you have to realize you're gonna die a lot. You are gonna die a lot more on Scorch than you are on Aegis. But that's okay. To be honest, you could run this build on Aegis too and just have a souped up fireball. I like looks that kill. I don't really like Brand. Brand is a card I take in and out. I had Brand out of there, and I had the charge knockback as a filler, and I had an extra point on Cavalier, Incinerate, and an extra on looks that kill. That is my old build, and I use this build. I go back and forth on the 2 builds with whatever I like better in the moment. Whatever I have better luck with, I tend to run. But I'm not a fan of Brand. The caught 2 on the fireball. You don't need that extra point for the 75%. You don't. You're not going to get any benefit out of it. Last Stand is critical because that is your survivability option. As soon as you put your shield up, basically, you can start regenerating health if you're below 40%. Looks at kill, I already explained why. I like that at 60, rather, because I can use a fireball when I'm right out of ammo and recharge up pretty quick. The 4-second cooldown on the fireball, that is I believe it's 4, I forget if it's 3 or 4, and then the boosted health. So, just to show off what this build, this is what makes Scorch so effective.
Say it to my face!
Alright, it's a 3-second.
Double kill!
Look at me shine!
Killing spree!
Now, obviously,
Triple
that
kill.
took more time because of the fire. So, let me just show you how it really works.
I got hotter.
Rampage! Double kill! Triple kill! Unstoppable! Double kill! That's 9 in a row!
Basically, you're just recharging your ammo every time you hit a fireball.
Immortal!
So you have a constant stream of damage. And the burn over time is critical.
That's 13 in a row!
The burn over
Triple
time
kill.
is the most critical thing on the build. Because you can just watch.
They're firing on me.
Annihilation!
You can keep pecking at someone. Like, that's my thing. If you ever see me play Fernando, you're going to see a lot of this.
Dare you!
It doesn't matter if I hit them or not. I want to keep them out of the range of my attack. So it scares them off of me. Like, that guy should be dead.
They're getting.
There you go. Notice how I'm just killing her with the burn damage.
Shine.
Just, that's all it takes to kill someone. And then obviously you have Scorch, which is just amazing for damage.
Say it to
Because
my
you're able to have a
face.
long range confirm option that hits for so much damage. So to reiterate, let's go back over here. So your first fireball will hit for 500, your second one will hit for 700, and then the third will hit for 900. Your fourth hits for over 1,000. If you get the entire enemy team to row up, you're gonna hit for a lot. And that's really the key, is that you can pound out so much damage. And then your ult is very good. I see a lot of Fernando's ulting to save themselves. That's not a good idea. What you want to do is you want to ult to
Never die.
save your team. Another thing I see a lot of people not realizing is that you do have your R1. I mean your R2 while in your Immortal. You don't have anything else, but you have your R2. And that's important to note. Now, let's talk about items real quick. We went over my loadouts, we went over abilities. There's not really a lot to say. He's a great flex character. You can play him as a tank with a shield. You can play him as a more mobile flanking character. You can play him as a heavy press damage. It's basically all on what you want to run. Also, another thing to note, his entire kit is area damage. And a lot of people look at the flamethrower and say it's not very effective. 350 damage per second and another 200 damage over time over 2 seconds. That's pretty good. His ult counters pretty much everything. If you can bring it out, your ult counters everything. He's a very good beginner type character. Does have rather lengthy cooldowns, but I would not advocate running Chronos. I really wouldn't. I also couldn't advocate Nimble. I think Morale and Master Rider. I personally, Morale boost, his ult is better. If you need the positioning, Master Rider, go right ahead. You do have your charge, but if you're not on a flank Nendo build with, 48 to 60% charge distance, you're better off on Morale boost. It is the way to go. You can build 70% into your loadout. However, if you're not running it, resilience is strong. You have to realize that the one thing on an Aegis Fernando that you have to realize is that CC is the bane of his existence. If a Damba were to get behind him and stun him, he loses the shield. Khan Commanders grabs through it, he loses his shield. Turn and Shatter falls on top of him, he loses his shield. So, while you're still going to lose your shield, the resilience is helpful for reducing the effect once you have the shield removed. A Haven or a Blast Shield is very effective. You don't really need Illuminate, except for a Sky on point that keeps hitting you with poison bolts. That's pretty much it. Rejuvenate is what you want to run so you can heal up faster. Veteran is not effective. If you're on a formidable build with Last Stand, I could understand running Veteran. Kill to Heal and Life Rip are interesting. See, normally you want Rejuvenate, but if you're playing a damage Fernando, you have to look. Buy your healing item last. If you're playing a Scorch Fernando, you don't want to buy your healing item right off the bat. Because, here's the thing. If you're getting a lot of eliminations, Kill to Heal is going to be better for you. But if you're not getting a lot of eliminations, you're just getting a lot of damage. If you're consistently hitting your 700 and your 900 damage fireballs, like every time you shoot a fireball, you're hitting at least a 700, sometimes a 900 damage, you want the Life Rip. Because every target you hit off of the fireball will get you that little life gain, believe it or not. Deft Hands is not effective on a character with the increased charge speed. You can run looks at kill, you're better off. Bulldozer, not really effective, but I can tell you yesterday, I had a game with a Barrack and a Ying, and I played Fernando, and I just got so pissed off, because there were like 4 fucking clones, because she kept teleporting and dropping clones, and there were 2 turrets, there were like 6 fucking deployables in my face. I got so pissed off, I maxed out Bulldozer, and I was spraying and praying, and I'm like, I'm sick of these fucking clones. So as I say that, yesterday, I will admit, I got so pissed off at fucking deployables, I had to buy. And that's really what deployables is there for. If they are annoying you that much, you buy that. If they're not annoying you, you don't touch it. And if you're better off on Caught and Wrecker. Now this is the thing, this is where I'm quite controversial. I advocate Wrecker. Because you have a burn over time weapon that deals damage. You're better off spraying a shield in close range to get it down faster. If you're on a Scorch build and you have Brand at 4 or higher, you do not need Cauterize. Remember that your weapon has Cauterize. Remember that your R2 has Cauterize. You have a burn over time damage effect type weapon. So Cauterize isn't effective. Wrecker is, because you need that bonus damage on the shield to wear down other tanks. But if you buy Cauterize, I don't blame you, because it does help mitigate times where, you know, you're just about to fireball somebody and they get burst healed real quick. Other than that, there's not really a lot to say. He's a very aggressive push type tank. And by the way, the range on your fireball is very good. I think that's something a lot of people underestimate, is how good the range on your fireball actually is. That's the range on your fireball right there. So it is an incredibly effective poke. You have a good close range weapon and you have a good long range option for constant DPS. I mean, it may not seem like a lot, but that little peppering is pretty good.
I am beautiful. Double kills.
It may take a while, but you have an effective range on that weapon. And the charge is good for closing distance. When your shield is up, you're better off using charge when you have your shield up. Pop your shield, try and heal up with Last Stand real quick, push up ahead, and then right before your shield's about to come down, you want to cancel that with a fireball. You always want to cancel your shield with a fireball because it gives you the offense. So, you know, let's say we charge, we're about to lose the shield. That's a much more effective strategy because it lets you burst the target down beforehand. That's pretty much the video. Fernando is a very easy to use tank to start off with, and this is more of an ease of use. You know, Aegis is definitely the way you should run if you want to play a tank, and if you want to be a little bit more advanced DPS, you run Scorch. I wouldn't run the other two. I know a lot of people that have luck on Dragonfire Lance, and I have a lot of people that have luck on Formidable. Good for you. I love playing with those people because it's a different type of Fernando. I personally, I don't get the health regen enough, and I don't get the damage on Dragonfire Lance enough to validate the other two. Aegis is always my baby. Aegis is always going to be my favorite because of the fact that I have this big fucking 10,000 health shield that they've got no choice but to bring it down. You know, you have to find a way to get the shield down. Whether it's Wrecker and you're just doing that or what. But it's pretty important. Like, it's just up. You gotta figure out what you're gonna do. How are you gonna bring my shield down? Like, how are you gonna bring it down? They all, it lets me just shut down certain ults. And the fact that I can charge forward with it and push ahead, and then the cancel on the fireball is pretty impressive. One thing you do need to realize on Scorch, your damage on your fireball is not very good. You're going to be able to peg people for 450, but it's better as a dismounting tool. Another thing I did want to mention is that, obviously I have Khan and Anara ahead of Fernando, but it's Fernando and Terminus right there for that 3-4 spot on top tank. And that's something that upsets a lot of people. Well, he's a starter type flank, you know. Sky is clearly outmatched by certain flanks, you know, by Zins, by Bucks, by Mojis. She does win battles against them, but as an up and up flanker, Sky can be a better or a worse flanker than the rest of them. A lot of people are gonna say Buck is a better flank than Sky. I would agree with that statement personally. And then you have something like support, you know, Pip is a lower tier healer in my opinion. I think he's beat out, you know, he is beat out by Saris, he is beat out by Dumba, he is beat out by Grok. And he does have his advantages and disadvantages just like Sky does, but Fernando is someone that's very strong. There's not a lot of downside. The only, like I've said before, on Aegis you're vulnerable when your shield is up. You're vulnerable when your shield gets taken down. And you have lower DPS. And on Scorch, you have lower tank power, lower sustain power. You're more of an aggressive damage. Deal as much damage as you can before you die and hope a healer gets you type of play. I see a lot of that on Khan, especially on Storm of Bullets with a Commander's Grab build. Or on Terminus with a Shatterfall flank type build. And that's my thing. He fits into that category of being that hybrid aggressive tank. He's not an Ashe. Where Ashe, Anara, Barrack, they can be more hunkered down. Makoa, they're more hunkered down on the point. They can sort of dig in. But even then, Barrack, Ashe, Makoa, they're very good as aggressive push tanks. They have good builds on them for that. But in my opinion, where Fernando and why Fernando is more of a better tank than a Makoa is Makoa has too many vulnerabilities. First off, Makoa's damage card is predicated around you hitting something. So he falls under the same boat as Cassie. You have to hit something to get the damage bonus. Fernando just shoots a fireball. And you look at Terminus, you see, okay, so what's his damage buff card? That's Seething Rage. Well, it's a close range card. It has no range, and there's a caveat, you can't have any Calamity Blast. So you can't run a damage reduction build and Seething Rage. It's a one or the other situation. You look at Khan, and Khan, that's why I compare Khan and Fernando so similarly, where you can run Storm of Bullets, which gives you better DPS, but you run Firing Line, and you get the damage bonus, and the CC immunity. There's no caveat to either or. You know, it's a bonus on top of Firing Line. Storm of Bullets really has a negative penalty to it, but that's not the point. Really, Fernando doesn't have a drawback to Aegis or Scorch. He just doesn't, and that's what makes him a strong tank. He doesn't have a drawback. He doesn't have anything that say, if you run this, you don't get this. Because he does have a 10-second shield. An 8,000 health, 10-second shield. He does have 450 damage and a really good range on his fireball. So, if you're saying, well, you're not getting the bonus damage on your fireball, you're still getting damage out of it. If you're not getting the benefit of an infinite duration shield, you're still getting a 10-second, 8,000 health shield. That's what gives him such strength as a champion. And then there's his ult. His ult is the one that really has no drawback to it. It's effective if you want to use it to keep yourself alive. If you want to use it to keep your team alive. I see a lot of people that they'll combo the Grok and the Fernando ult, and they'll just fly around the map really quick. But if you want to talk about Fernando, why he is such a strong champion, it is because he doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. He's a strong, versatile champion. And unlike Cassie, where I've talked about before, where with Cassie, okay, she's strong because she's versatile in every role, but she doesn't excel at everything, and all of her cards have a caveat to them. Fernando is the opposite. Fernando can specialize. I've shown you. He has specialty builds that change how he plays. He has a charge in the battle flank. Just because you stick to the same basic legendary cards, how he plays on those cards is very different. And he can run multiple builds on the same cards and still specialize enough. If you were to run Prius or Explosive Diarrhea on Scorch, you would play him two completely different ways. Prius would be more tank with the higher health, with the CC, with the CC reduction, with the charge knockback, or you would be more of a point pushing and countering other tanks. You would be, this is mostly a con counter build, a terminus counter build. You want to stun me? Eat a fireball. You want to charge me? Eat a fireball. Versus Explosive Diarrhea, you're much more aggressive. You're pushing your fireballs more. You're charging ahead, and you're saying, eat my fireballs. Heal or sit on point, try and heal me from range, and I'll just push up and tank everybody for you. That's how you kind of have to play. Also, the default build is quite trash. A lot of people run it because of Safe Travel and Brand. I don't like those cards where you get the shield after you activate a certain ability, or if you fall below a certain amount of health. I'm just not a fan of that. My thing there with Safe Travel is a 750 shield when you charge. It's not great. The eliminations reduced cooldown is nice. This is kind of a flex build. You have a little bit of everything. You have Last Stand for sustain. You have Brand for damage. You have Fearless Leader for Brand. You have Safe Travel to boost up Last Stand and your health. It's not a good build to run. But there you have it. The other thing I did want to mention, put up Aegis with the use me, just as an FYI.
Coming through.
This is the effect of Last Stand as a heal, just to show you, compared to what Formidable did. So while she was chewing through that, I'm able to heal up. And I'm not going to heal up a lot, but the shield in front of me prevents me from taking a lot of damage. And that's the key right there, is I'm able to effectively heal up and keep my heals up for long enough to survive. Whereas Formidable, you know, you don't have to run the shield. So I would say, okay, what if I didn't run the shield? You stay relatively at that same level of health. But if she's actively attacking you, you're going to take it. It's designed for you to pop your shield up. But what happens if your shield comes down and the Formidable doesn't kick in? Well, then you're toast. And that's the reason why, on Last Stand, it gives you enough time with your shield that once they take your shield dead, you have enough health to get the fuck out of there. I hope this has been educational. Thank you guys for watching. This was a much shorter one than I anticipated, but there you go.